So in this video, I'm going to review my Orient Star Classic. It's reference number REAW0002L. Here, you can see it on the box there. So I bought this watch a while ago. I actually already did an unboxing video on this watch, so if you're interested in watching that, I'll put a link of it so you can check it out if you want. But so I'm just gonna quickly unbox it, take it out of the box it came in. It's a very nice box. It's not terribly big. I think some of these watches, some watches just come, the boxes are just unnecessarily big, I would say. I bought this specifically because I wanted to expand my Japanese watches that I had. And I was looking at Orient. I was very interested in Orient. I almost bought like one of their divers, like the Kamasu or the Triton, I believe is one of them. But I ended up buying this Orient Star, and I'm very happy I did so. I was very intrigued with the design. It looks super classic and classy. I think I mentioned this in the unboxing video that the dial is has a very different shade of blue than most pictures. Most pictures are very boring. This is more of like a sunburst kind of. If you look at that, if I move the watch around, you got that nice sunburst effect, which is quite attractive. Most pictures of this watch on the internet don't do the dial justice, in my opinion. So I'm going to give you a little background about the watch. This watch was made in tribute to one of the iconic original Orient Star timepieces of the early 1950s. So it's kind of an homage to that. So it's just kind of combining our current technology with making mechanical watches with the style of the past, and I think they did a hell of a nice job with this piece. So I'm going to take it off the pillow so you can get a better look at it. Let's take a nice look at the dial. Again, I got to mention that beautiful blue sunburst effect of the dial. Much nicer than all the pictures. I'm going to just say that again because it's true. You have Arabic numerals all around. You have a power reserve complication right below the 12 o'clock mark. Small seconds dial right at around 6 o'clock. You got the date at 3 o'clock and the Orient Star logo at 9 o'clock. There's a lot of symmetry with this watch. I feel like you got four different areas where you have, four different things going on. So you got three complications with this watch. This is, I think the style is one of the nicest styles that I have personally. And I think I paid a little over $400 for this watch, which I find to be very reasonable. Nice polished hands, kind of like sword hands, definitely. Even a little sword hand there for the power reserve and the small seconds. I kind of like the small seconds because it's and small seconds is actually more of a vintage look for watches. In fact, older watches didn't have your traditional seconds like my. So it's not like your traditional watch where you have the seconds ticking away in the middle there. The small seconds is just an homage, more of a vintage look, so it kind of gives you that vintage look. There's also a little date window there. So let's just talk about the case real quick. I would say this watch has the bezel to dial ratio is kind of on the bigger side. The dial is quite big because the bezel is quite small. Like if you compare it to my watch my Seiko that I'm wearing right now, you can see the bezel is much larger, making these watches are very similar in size. Having the bezel be this small is kind of gives it almost like an optical illusion, giving the appearance that the watch is bigger than it actually is. But this is still like a 38 millimeter watch, just over 38 millimeter. I really like the case. It's nice polished all around with some detail here and there, some nice lines going all around it and rings. It's a very nice design. You have the lugs that kind of, slope down. Quite nice. I mean, it's not my favorite. I kind of like, I think this is just more of a classic kind of look, so I see what they were going with it, but I do like lugs that kind of blend into the body of the case a little more. So there's a little more, has more of an abrupt angle here. This is the look of the case. I'm okay with having watches that not all watches have to look the same. I happen to like watches more traditional style, somewhat like this, like my Seiko here. So behind it, you have an open display case where you can see a nice, pretty nicely polished movement there. With, you can see some nice swirls. See if I can zoom in and give you a better look. But yeah, I mean, I always appreciate a nice display case. I think this has water resistance of about 50 meters or 5 bar. Yeah, that gives you a nice look at the crown there. It has a nice Orient Star symbol on it with an O and the S on it. It's not much to say about it. It's pretty easy to wind. It's not a screw down crown or anything, so you can just wind it really easily. I'm winding it right now, and you can see that the power reserve is going up. So it's a very simple watch to use. Here, I just clicked it out here once, and here I'm gonna just change the date to the 21st. It's super easy, very smooth. I'll pull it out again. And now I'm changing the date. I should say that this is such a buttery smooth movement. I love how nice and smooth it is. It's so easy to operate. It just feels like a quality movement. You know, that nice Japanese like engineering in there. You know, one thing I should mention about this movement is this is the first. It's actually made me appreciate the power reserve even more. Is that I didn't know. This is the first time I actually noticed how long it would take. Let's say you're wearing this, you put this watch on, it's like dead. You wind it up a little, you get it up to like maybe an hour of power reserve or just enough to get it running, and you start wearing it. So this is the first time I realized how long it takes for a watch to automatically wind itself. You literally have to wear it all day. And I tried this a couple of times. You have to wear it for hours and hours and hours, like a whole day, and that gets it close to like the top full. So it's not like something you wear it for an hour or two, unless you're like very heavily doing something very like active, like walking, like speed walking or something, then yeah, you might wind it a little faster, but it takes a while to wind itself. So that's something that having a power reserve complication has made me appreciate. So this watch has the Orient F6. The movement's based on the Orient F6 movement. This iteration of it has 50 hours of power reserve, and it bites at 21,600 beats per vibrations per hour, which I think is fine. You know, I most of the time you're not really looking at the watch. Yeah, it is nice to have a very smooth sweep, but you know, honestly, this watch has a small second, so you really can't see the sweep that closely anyway. It's a very small dial, so I don't think it's that important. And also, you know, having it go that slow gives you relatively a very useful 50-hour power reserve, which is I can attest that it does last that long. I've wound it all the way, and it's lasted more than 2 days easily. So this watch has a nice bracelet. I would say that it was it's kind of like almost an oyster style, but you know, a little different. It has it's mostly brushed with just two metal links that are, or two lines or metal links that are polished in the middle, giving it a little bit of, you know, helps you catch that light a little more, making it a little more flashy. You know, this is somewhat of a dressy watch, so I can see how that would be nice. It's a high quality bracelet, I have to say. Doesn't you know, you can do this jangle test. You know, it's a very solid bracelet. There's a nice mill deployment clasp that operates very easy it has push buttons, so it's very easy to use. The one thing that I noticed about this watch is when I was sizing it, it uses like a proprietary, I don't know, like a pin and collar system. I've sized a bunch of watches, and it's the first time I've seen it. It had like two little, it was like a tube along with a collar, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out how to do it. I don't know if you need a special tool in order to size this thing, but I just ended up buying like a kit on Amazon with like traditional for like, I don't know, I think I spent like $9 on traditional like pin system for the watch, and I just hammered them in and sized it that way instead of taking it to a watch place that would have probably charged me like $30. So anyway, I like sizing my own watches, and it's okay, and it worked fine, honestly. I think I used a 17 or 16 millimeter pin, but don't quote me on that, I'm not sure. I think it was 17 millimeter. Yeah, so let's take some measurements. Put this thing on the scale. We're looking at 123 grams. You can't see that too well. Oh, there you go, 123 grams. All right, let's take some measurements here and get you the exact case size of this thing. Yeah, about 38.5 millimeters wide. Let's do some thickness measurement here. About 12.3, 12.4 in thickness, so it's not terribly thick. And let's do a nice quick lug to lug. About 45 millimeter. So this watch, would fit would fit nicely on many different wrist sizes. I have I'll show you how it looks on my wrist later, but I have a 7.25 inch wrist. I have a 7.25 inch wrist, and it fits nicely on my wrist. I actually like how it looks. Personally, I think dress watches should be under 40 millimeters in my opinion. And let me give you a quick little strap size here. I'm looking at about 20 millimeter strap size. So yeah, so you can very easily find straps for this watch. And that's what it looks like on my 7.25 inch wrist, or 18.4 centimeters. Again, fits quite nicely. This watch I think retailed for about $1,000, and it feels it definitely feels like that, like a $1,000 watch. For my final thoughts on this watch, I'm gonna definitely recommend it. I think Orient Star did a really good job with this watch. It's a hell of a good value if you can find it still. I think Joe Michel's still selling it for a little over $400. If you're looking for an Orient and you want to not just get a bare bones Orient like a Bambino or just another Kamasu diver, and you want something a little different and you're willing to spend a little more money, I think it's a hell of a good option. In fact, any Orient Star, I've seen a lot of them. I think you should definitely get the 38 millimeter case size. It's a more classic size. Personally, I don't think this watch would look very nice as a over 40 millimeter size. I think 38 is a good size for these watches. So definitely look out for those. It's a very nice, high quality watch, and I can't recommend it enough, and I love it. It's definitely earned a permanent spot in my collection. If you found this review helpful, please feel free to like and subscribe. That'd be really awesome. If you have any questions about the watch or pretty much anything about watches, leave them in the comments. I'll answer them as best as I can, and I'll see you in the next one.